Hey, what up, guys? It's me again. And welcome to the This Is My Moment podcast. And here at This Is My Moment, we love smiling, we love having a good time, and we love clapping for people. Let's go get it.
There ain't no stopping it, this is my moment. Join the movement, we bringing people together, bringing positivity, making changes for the better. Cause it's all
Today, I got somebody that's going to talk to me about resiliency. I want to talk about it. I want to touch on it. I want to see what it looked like from somebody else's viewpoint. Let's see what she got to say. Introduce yourself to the family.
Hey family, my name's Ginny Priem and I am so excited to be here today. After just recently leaving my very long corporate career in corporate America, I published my first book last year, and I've left that corporate job to find new purpose and meaning in my life. And so now I'm speaking, podcasting. I've got my own podcast called Drinking with Gin, and doing coaching and authoring.
So before we start, right, I'm looking at you, right, and I saw the Drinking with Gin, and you got your wine on there, right, and you different places, and you sip, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. And you said something on one of your shows that says, see people for what they show you. I said, you know what? That's right, because people generally show you who they are. And it's us, right? People that, I call it ignoring the red flags, right? They show you who you are, and then we like, no, maybe they'll change, or maybe, what made you start saying like, see what people show you? And this is not even getting into the questions yet. This is just what I saw in the beginning. What is that?
No, that's really insightful. And so that really comes from, so my dad was my favorite philosopher. We love to quote other people, but he had all these dadisms, as I like to call them. Yeah. And one of them was, he used to always tell me when I was a little girl, Ginny, you live life in rose-colored glasses. And I always thought it was a really big insult until probably even after he was gone. And now I realize that it is. I try to see the good in people. Yeah. And I try to find the good in things. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to try to see anything in people. They're going to show you. And part of the reason why that's so important to me is because I got duped. Like I got duped hard by a romantic partner, or who I thought was my partner, and turned out to be nothing like what I thought he was. But in hindsight, there were, like you said, those red flags, and I ignored them. I tried to justify them. And because sometimes we want to force things into being something that they're not. And you don't have to do that, because people might tell you something, but what they show you really does mean everything.
Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of times I'm the same way, right? Like I'm a cup half full guy, right? Like it's never a bad person. And then when you realize that you mean something different to someone that means something different to you, you know what I mean? Like it's not reciprocal, you know what I mean? And a lot of times it's just what I think, once you outlive your value to that person, you're kind of expendable, but inside of you, you're like, I'm all in. This is like it's nothing else outside of this. And that one person could be like, you know what? Yeah, you are until you aren't. You know what I mean? So it's real huge. So I want to talk to you a little bit. And I know the first question I want to talk about is, you're my favorite. I looked at that and I was like, I wonder what she's going to tell me. Tell me what you're my favorite is. What is that?
That's the title of my book. And honestly, it was a last minute name change. So it was called something different throughout the whole project. And at the last minute, I changed the name. And I'm so glad that I did. Yeah. It all worked out exactly how it was supposed to. But you're my favorite. There's a few little reasons throughout the book. So when you read it, you'll see kind of why I named it that. Yeah. But the book is about a romantic relationship that ended in a very shocking and traumatic way. And the crazy thing, Patrick, is that so much more has happened. My book came out about a year ago. Yeah. And the story just continues to unfold. Like it's crazy, juicy stuff happening. Like if you've heard of the series Dirty John, I mean, it's like Dirty John level stuff going on here in Minneapolis with
Goodness.
this guy. Yeah, it's wild.
So let me ask you this: with all this new information coming to light, are we gonna see a part two? Like, what is that in your calculations?
I don't know if I'll write another book because a lot of it's not about my own experience. So my book
Yeah,
is a true story. It's
yeah.
written from my point of view. Um, and it's a true story. I literally walk you through this very shocking and
Mm,
traumatic point in my life.
yeah,
But what I am doing with it is I'm using it in my media and
yeah,
PR opportunities to
yeah,
talk about it and talk about how the story continues to unfold. But
yeah.
really what it did for me was changed me. I mean, this experience changed me. Actually, I don't know if it really changed me, but what it did was it allowed me to become my most authentic, true version of myself.
That's it right there,
And
sister.
I know I was in there all along, but because of some different people that were around me, how I was raised, some
Yeah.
really narcissistic people in my family and in my life. That's what
Mhm.
was familiar to me. And now this
Yeah.
guy's like next level. Like this guy, like I said, like the stuff is like shocking. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like when I talk to other people, they're like, Ginny, he's not just a narcissist. I think he might be like a predator and a psychopath and a
Goodness gracious.
sociopath, like all these things all wrapped up in one. So
Goodness. So let me ask you this: during that time, right? How was your mental state? Like I know in order to move on, you have to change the way that you think, the way that you see things. But at that time, before you started recognizing the red flags, before all these other things that happened to make you push forward, where were you at mentally?
can I tell you just a little bit
Talk
about
to
the
me.
story? So let me tell you a little bit about the story and kind of what happened. I promise I'm not going to give any spoiler alerts, but so basically what happened is I was single, like living my best life. I've got this big corporate job. I'm traveling everywhere. Like basically
Yeah.
picture a Netflix series of the, successful career lady traveling all over. Like that was me. I had this
Yeah.
great life. And then I am introduced to this guy. I call him Chad. That's not his
Okay.
real name, but Chad
Okay.
in the book. And I was resistant to dating him, partly because my life was so good,
Yeah.
but he also had two kids.
Okay.
And so eventually, I'm trying to slow play it, but he's, really doing the love bombing and pulling me in quick and moving things hot
Yeah.
and heavy, super fast, the
Yeah.
gifts, the notes, the fancy
Okay.
dinners, the concerts, the football games, all of it.
Yeah.
So I fall in love and then I meet his kids and I fall in love two more times and I have this instant family, so
Yeah.
not too long, into the relationship, they move in and they have a wonderful mother. So they were with her,
Yeah.
60% of the time. And at that time, 40% with us.
Yeah.
And, I'm on a business trip and my life is so good. Like, I think at this point, one of my friends messages me and she's like, "Hey, what time do you land tonight?" And this is a Tuesday night. And I know
Yeah.
my podcast is called Drinking with Gin and I like to have some cocktails, but not at 9:30 on a Tuesday night. Like we were not like Tuesday night 9 p.m. cocktail kind of friends. Like we would get together for coffee or workouts.
Yeah.
So my mindset, right? So here's where my mind and my head is at this point. I'm all day like worried about her. I am
Yeah.
so worried about this friend. Like, why does she so urgently need to meet with me for
Yeah.
drinks at 9:30 on a Tuesday night?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something major must be going on with her. So I'm in my head going, how do I show up and be a good friend?
Right.
How do I be there for her and support her with whatever is going on? Because she's giving me no clue, like no
Yeah.
inkling. So I get to the restaurant and I sit down and she displays this arrangement of evidence of lies, betrayal, deception
Yeah.
about this guy that's currently at home sleeping in my bed.
Mm.
So it's like I walked into this restaurant, one woman with a certain life that I thought I had,
Yeah.
and I'm leaving facing a completely different life. So kind of what that did, to get back to your question of where that put me and where my head was at, like my world was shook.
Mm.
I questioned everything like
Yeah.
what was reality and what
Right.
wasn't, what's
Right.
real and what's not.
Mm.
And I was in shock. I was just going through the motions. So when you experience something like that, like a real trauma or adversity or a really difficult time in your life,
Yeah.
it's almost like time stands still, like your
Right.
world is standing still, but the world is moving on all around you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just a matter of putting one step in, you know, one foot in front of the other and catching your breath and just getting through the day.
Yeah.
So immediately, my mental health was not good. I mean, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I
Yeah.
lost immediately like a whole bunch of weight. And, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get out of that, but luckily I did. And
Good.
we're way on the other side of it and so
So
much
you
better
cooking.
from it.
You cooking. Let me ask you this. What strategy did you use to bounce back? Because I knew it couldn't have been easy because, like, obviously you were all in. Like, I mean, you let people and their kids move in. That's kind of a thing. So what what strategy did you use to bounce back, to get yourself out of that hole?
I look at bouncing back. So we talked about that. So bouncing back is resilience, right? That's the ability to bounce back. And as humans, like human nature, we have the ability to bounce back. I
Right.
didn't bounce back. I
Mm.
bounced forward. I catapulted my life forward. And I didn't even really realize how I did it until I was beyond it. But once I reflected and I looked back, I developed this program called Gin Path, GIN. So staying on brand with me and drinking with gin and all that. But it really did come down to these three things. So the first thing I did, it's this 3-part kind of process, or this 3-part path: the G, the I, and the N. So the first
Right.
thing I did, G, was just gather. I had to gather myself, like I said, some days just to get out of bed and show up.
Right.
But then I started to really get curious and gather information about my community,
Mhm.
myself, the people
Yeah.
around me, and what was going on. Why, like, how did I get here? What just happened? What is going on? And how, you know, kind of how do we move forward? So the gathering, for me, what I started to do is read books, journals, articles, to really understand why I allowed this in my life.
Mm.
And taking that hard reflective step of not just looking at who and what's around you, but taking that hard look inward as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the
Yeah.
first component. And then the second part is intentions and intentionality. I know that's kind of a big buzzword out there right now, but it was about being intentional with myself and what I wanted, what I
Mhm.
wanted my life to look like, what I wanted a month, a week, a day, an hour to look like in my life, who I wanted to be and how I wanted to feel, and showing up as the best, most confident version of myself. And then being
Yeah.
intentional about what you're doing, who you're surrounding yourself with, what you're doing to bring joy into your life.
Yeah.
And that intentionality piece is huge.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay.
not just like dismissing or saying like you're not going to acknowledge the feelings. It's not just like toxic positivity,
Yeah.
because that's also not good, right? Like that kind of swings the pendulum the other way.
Right.
But what I'm talking about is actually acknowledging and being intentional about facing the feelings that are coming up for you,
Yeah.
acknowledging them, and then asking, like, is this serving me? Like, how is
Mm.
this serving me? And then
Yeah.
being intentional about that and, you know, how you move forward.
Okay.
And then the last part is nurture. So really figuring out ways to nurture yourself. And for me,
Mhm.
I discovered meditation,
Okay.
which if you would have asked the Ginny 5 years prior to that, I would have been like, you know what, you just go ahead and take your meditation pillow and go on with your hippy dippy selves and have fun with that. But
Yeah.
it really has changed my life. It has helped me again get to know me and who I
Yeah.
am, be more calm, patient, understanding.
Yeah.
You know, that compassion that I've always had has now kind of come to the forefront. It's helped me like not live in ego anymore and
Yeah.
live from your heart. And if meditation's not your thing, there's a lot of other ways to nurture, right? It can look like faith. Like if someone is
Mhm.
really into faith and prayer, that's another way to lean. It can be exercise. you know, but again, being intentional about that exercise. Do you want to go for a run because you need a really good sweat? Or do you want to go to yoga because you need to just get a good stretch or calm and clear your mind and just be present on that mat for, 30 or 60 minutes? Might be a massage or getting your nails done, or, it can really look a lot of different ways. So that nurture component is, I mean, that we could have just a whole podcast on in itself, but I hope that wasn't too much, but that's really kind of the whole, like, that's the path that I did. And I think that by doing that, it not just helped me, catapult my life forward from this situation, but it's something that I can use and reflect on in everyday life. I think it can make you a better leader, a better employee, a better partner, a better friend, just being aware and doing these kind of 3 little steps.
So first off, congratulations on finding that. And when you said that you didn't bounce back, that to me is solid gold, sister. That to me is what you said in the beginning. Like, we're gonna talk about it, but a little different. That's different, and that's not a little different. That's way different. So congratulations. So I talked to you before we started, like, actually recording. Like, my grandfather was the reason that I do this. And I saw and heard you just say that your father had passed away and your father was your guy, right? Yeah. How much of an impact did your dad have on you to give you this ability to catapult forward, to quit a great corporate job, to go out on a limb of faith for talking and writing and podcasting? Like, what impact did your pops have on you? You know what I mean? To give you that.
So hopefully I can do this without crying, because
crying is okay.
Oh, well, my dad was my everything. Like, he really shaped me for who I am. My dad and I were inseparable. Like, talk about daddy's girl. Like, I made a bunch of jokes at his funeral because I led his funeral and gave the eulogy and everything. And I was like, daddy's little girl, apple of his eye, daddy's princess. Like, these are just some of my nicknames. Should I go on? Like, and everyone knew, like, I was his golden child. Like, I was his favorite. And I know you're not supposed to have a favorite child, but there was just no denying that with my dad. And he would say it. Like, it's kind of wild, but there's so much of him instilled in me. And so some of the qualities that I think I really learned from him are integrity, like first and foremost, integrity, and principle. Sometimes to a fault. Like, sometimes it's like, okay, don't just like try to, do this out of principle. Like, sometimes we can just like wash our hands of things and move on. But integrity, principle, determination, hard work. My dad was a hard worker and really amazing work ethic, and he was passionate about what he did. And so I think all of those things, and I don't think I even appreciated some of his wisdom until after he was gone. Like, I kind of mentioned some of the dadisms, and I kind of say they're like a dad joke, like, well-intended, but maybe poor timing and not when you want to hear it. But later on, it makes sense. Cause like, my dad was not an emotional guy. Like, I think the first time I saw him cry was when I was like 12, when we had to put our, family dog down. And he didn't even want me to know, because, ahead of time, because he didn't want me to see him like that. I don't think, and didn't want me to be, upset. But I actually think he was more in tune with his emotions than I ever thought. And I think it's partly because of these dedisms. Like, I think he was even wiser than I thought. And like, he was also that guy that, there's people that know a lot about a little, like, they're really well, they know a lot about their craft. And then there's people that know a little about a lot. They're like, okay, I can tell you a little bit about this and a little bit about
facts.
That. My dad knew a lot about a lot. Like, he was just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom and jovial. And he also, like, one other thing, another big impact that he had on me is music. So my dad loved music. He loved the oldies. So I grew up listening to the oldies and pop and everything.
Yeah.
But since he passed away, one of the songs I played at his funeral was Stand By Me. And that's not a common song anymore.
Yeah.
But I hear it everywhere. And so like I heard it last summer on a patio with a live band in Paris. I mean, I heard it last Friday when I was with some friends at a location. I mean, it comes on all the time. And that to me is like him always saying that he's like, I always feel like that's because he's here with me.
Yeah.
So that might have been more than you bargained for in terms of an answer, but as you can tell, he was, like you said, my guy.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I'm gonna say two things on that. So that song, I love Stand By Me. I love it. And you know what's funny? I can picture my grandfather talking to me, right? And if I'm wrong, correct me. When that song comes on to me, it almost seems like a break. Like I would close my eyes and just say, thanks, Dad. Or, you know what I mean? Like that's the kind of feeling listening to you that I get, because that's what I get with my grandfather. When certain people call me certain things, right? Or if I hear something that reminds me of him, it's just one of those things where I close my eyes and be like, you know what? And my grandmother, she just passed too, and that was my lady. And certain things just makes you close your eyes and be like, you know what? Thank you. I'm trying. And then we'll go on about our day. You know what I mean? And that's what I get from you. Like when you hear that song, Stand By Me, what is it? When the night, right? And you say it and you just like, you know what? I love you too. And we'll move on. And my daughter is a girl dad. I'm a dad's girl. And the conversation that we have, no one understands it. The relationship that we have, when you look at it like, why are you letting her talk to you like that? Why are you talking to her like that? Because the relationship that we have goes above what people see. Like it's on a whole different connection to where she calls me and she cries and she's upset and she'll say things that she won't say to her mom. Because, Dad's going to give it to her straight. Dad loves her and Dad cares about her, but Dad is still going to give it to her straight. And sometimes that's what she needs, and that's what our relationship is. And, like, you can't talk to your daughter like that. I'm like, but why not? And what I did with my daughter is I treat her like my princess. Because when she sees somebody or someone starts to date her, she already has a bar. So in my mind, I'm hoping that she won't settle for someone that treats her less than her dad. You know what I mean? Yeah. And as funny as that is, man, like I'm the type of dad that'll come to your door. You know what I mean? Like if you mess with my daughter, I'm coming to your house. We're just gonna keep it straight. If you mess with her in a manner that hurts her physically, mentally, we're gonna come talk about it. And if your parents are there, we're gonna talk to them about it too. That's just who I am, because you don't do that. And that's why I love my daughter in the same way that your relationship with your dad is how ours is. Congratulations for that. I don't want to get too mushy because we're coming to the end. This is the fun part.
All right.
So I told you in the beginning that we're going to play a little game. And I started last season to where at the end of every show, I give you two options. I didn't have a name for it last season. This season, we got a name. We call it Pick One. That's the name of the game. Okay. This is not me throwing you under the bus. I'm not going to wow you with my questions. Just got to choose. You ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Let's go get it.
I hope I pick right.
There is no wrong answer. Writing or podcast? Which one you choose?
Ooh, right now, podcast.
Podcast over writing.
In this season.
In this season. You got it. Here we go. One flex. What's your biggest flex? One.
My biggest flex is being authentic, because there's nobody that you ever have to try to pretend to be, or nobody ever trying to have to figure out who you really are. Like this is what you get.
Period.
There's no image to keep up.
I love that too, because you know what? It's real hard to be somebody else. I might as well just be me. Last one. I give you the phrase, this is my moment. First thing comes to your mind.
Oh, this is my moment. Like my moment is just begun. Like right now, I just celebrated a year with my book
Yeah.
and like really just launching. I mean, I feel like everything I'm launching right now is to help other people
Yeah.
bounce forward. And that is why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. So like I said, when I saw your podcast, I was like, this is the perfect pair. Like just everything you're doing and what you're all about and what I'm
Yeah.
doing, it just seemed to be the right
Yeah.
match. So the name of your podcast was, really perfect. This is my moment.
Before I close the show, I want to tell you, thank you for everything that you do. I've been watching, and I'm a traveler. I love traveling. I love going different places. I'm not really a wine guy. I'm a margarita guy. So, but when I, yeah. But when I saw you sipping, I was like, man, this is what living is, right? Taking our summers and making the most of them. Taking our time, not getting so caught up in the day-to-day grind, the day-to-day hustle to where we miss out on these opportunities to enjoy the things that we work so hard for. And I think you hit it on the head. When you left that 9 to 5 corporate to do and bet on yourself, and now you enjoying it and you traveling. What you say, you was in France last week before last. Sister, that's amazing. It's not even spring break or summer. We just on vacation, right? Like
you have to take vacation. And
Yes.
I think that's been a big mindset shift for me too, is I don't care about things as much anymore. It's about experiences in life, and part of that is seeing different parts of the world and different cultures and getting to travel. And that brings me a lot of joy. And I know it brings a lot of other people joy too. So
it brings me tons of joy. I tell you what, it's nothing like getting another stamp on that passport.
Yes. I love that.
Hey guys, just like Jenny said, man, and I'm gonna use this. Don't bounce back, catapult forward. That to me is probably the most inspiring thing that I've heard in a long, long time. Because I've always said, oh, bounce back, bounce back. Nah, you know what? I'm going to try to, from here on out, I'm going to catapult forward. Be the best version of myself that I can be. And you go be the best version of you can be. Bounce back no longer. Catapult forward. And at the end of the day, go get it!
Join the movement, we bringing people together, bringing positivity, making changes for the better. Cause it's all about growth, all about success. We wanna see you rise, wanna see you at your best.